Hello everyone, I am Matt Williamson. Happy Easter. I'm recording this Easter morning. Hope the Easter Bunny was good to all of you. And as importantly, happy draft week. We are into draft week, hot and heavy. As usual, I will record something every day the night before, so you have it in your ears in the morning. And then Thursday, Friday, Saturday, I will record something very late after the picks are made when I get home. So you have something there, and then we'll get into, recapping drafts, things like that a week from now. But there's a lot going to happen between now and then, obviously. Now, a lot of these get a lot of good feedback. They absolutely do. Some really have blown your doors off. Some, you guys don't love. I think this is going to be a really strong podcast, and here's why. First of all, I'm going to say this several times. Omar Khan has been the GM for 2 years now, 2 draft classes. This is going to be his third. We know that. So it is a small sample size. But there are some extremely strong trends for how he drafts and how they've drafted over the past 2 years. They've also made a lot of changes with their scouting staff that hasn't been trumpeted through the media. They have a lot of new staffs. The way they approach the draft is much different. And remember, Omar's a lot more of an analytical salary cap type of background, with Andy Weidel doing a heavy bit of the evaluation stuff. And frankly, through 2 drafts, I know there was a lot of injuries last year. Sure looks like it's working, and the one thing we went over a couple days ago, pretty high percentage of guys they bring in on 30 visits have become Steelers over the last 2 years. We know that he values premium positions, certainly more than the last staff. Hey, I love Kevin Colbert, but trading up for a linebacker, drafting a strong safety in the first round, between the tackles, running back, that is very different than what Omar's done over the last 2 years with offensive tackle, which is the second most premium position behind quarterback with both your first round picks. Their other 2 picks in the first 2 rounds were a corner, Porter, Benton, a defensive tackle, and a center. But maybe as important, after going 10 years with hardly drafting any O-linemen, they've drafted 5 in the last 2 drafts. 5. 0 running backs, which is the least premium position. So those are some things you already know, but I dug up a lot of stuff on Omar Khan in these last 2 years, and hear me out. So Mason McCormick is the only player drafted from a non-Power 5 school by this staff. So they go after big schools. I mean, clearly. But why Mason McCormick, though, too? That's going to bring me to the crux of this entire podcast. And that is, McCormick was a really good athlete. He tested very, very well. Now that's a tease for the second half here. BetOnline is the world's most trusted betting platform and your number one source for betting on all the madness. Whether you're a seasoned fan or a first-time bettor, BetOnline is your ultimate game day companion. With the largest selection of odds on everything from college basketball to a $200,000 bracket contest, BetOnline continues to be your number one sports betting source. From every Cinderella story to every hat trick, BetOnline has you covered with odds, stats, and more for every game, every play, and every win. BetOnline, the game starts here. Obviously, we've got NBA and NHL playoffs going as well. But as I mentioned, McCormick is the only non-big school draftee, but he is athletic. Now, you might not know what RAS is, R-A-S, Relative Athletic Score. And there's several sites out there that you can search comps, you can go look at any specific player. And basically the crux of what RAS is, Relative Athletic Score, is it's relative. It's not, it's accumulation of all the different testing, so they kind of like build a spider web with this is in the top percentages of jumps and 40s and 10-yard splits, etc. And it's relative to your size. So a tackle that runs fast for a tackle might have a better RAS than a wide receiver that runs a whole second faster, but he's real small. He's 100 pounds lighter. See what I'm saying? So it's all relative to your size. And I also think it's relative to your position, but don't 100% quote me on that. The Eagles are big on this. The Colts are big on this. But boy, is Omar big on this. Hear me out. Let me read you something here. So, here we go. Khan's draftees have averaged a 9.1 RAS, highest amongst GMs. Should have told you this before I read it. It's a 1 to 10 scale. So, you'll see guys that are, 2.3 RAS. That's bad. Anything over 9 is really high. Really high, So his draft picks, if you accumulate all their RAS scores, is a 9.1. That's like, it's not relative to grades. I was going to say that's like an A, but it's more like an A+. I mean, there's not many 9s and above. An incredible 71% of his 14 selections were on players with a RAS of 9 or higher. He is yet to select a player that did not register a RAS score, and none have generated a score of less than 7.4. Some guys just don't test, and I think he hasn't been interested in those guys. 7.4 is not even bad, let alone 9.1. He has isolated the best athletes with his late pick so far, as all 4 of his 6th and 7th round picks have been on guys with RAS scores of 9.1 or better. So that's another big Eagle thing, is the Eagles love using late picks on outlier athletes. And a lot of 6th and 7th round picks never do anything. They wash away, obviously. And if you can get a Jordan Mailata out of the group, who's a monster RAS score and turns into your left tackle, for years in the 7th round, that makes up for every 6th and 7th round miss you've had for 10 years. So he has really, 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 more than any GM in the league, stressed and backed that up with drafting guys with great relative athletic scores. And really taking shots on those really late round picks that are really become throwaway type guys. Give me just great athletes and go from there. So I took this a step further and thought, okay, well, who might, knowing what we know, big schools, visits, and especially the RAS stuff, who might he really be targeting? So of the guys that have been in for visits, these are the players that had a 9 or above RAS score. The first 2 to me stand out because they're at weird positions. Shamar Stewart, Nick Enunware. Those are just ultra freak talents. Frankly, I think at positions the Steelers aren't interested in. Also, DJ Giddens, Jaden Knoll, Tyler Shuck. He's a very athletic quarterback for his size in particular. Omarion Hampton, Knoll's teammate, Jaden Higgins, Brayshaw Tootin, Darius Alexander. That one's really interesting to me too, because if they go D-tackle in a trade down, Alexander could absolutely be a target. And Jared Harrison Hunt. So those are the dudes the Steelers have brought in that have a 9 or above RAS score. So again, we're checking a couple key boxes here. Now, I also took it a step further and said, okay, let's not even worry about who was in on visits. I looked at a couple key positions of who's a 9 or above that are some key names. And this is what I came up with from defensive backs. Porter, Hancock, Ransaw, Crawford, Hairston, Marshall from Florida, Zaw Frazier, and Wooler. Those are all highly athletic, and a lot of that's because of size too. Again, size matters here. The bigger you are, the faster you run, the higher you jump. It's all relative. These are the wide receivers I came up with a +9. Tesla, Horton, Thornton, Knoll, Egbuka, Dyke, Enamanor, Higgins, as I mentioned, Lane, Beck, Badger, Harris from Mississippi, Felton, Lambert Smith, who's growing on me, and Royals. Okay? And I also pulled up, let me scrolling on my phone here, a couple other D linemen. Ty Robinson is like at the top of the list with a 9.89. Again, this is out of 10. D lineman, Ty Robinson, Ingrams Dawkins, Hemingway, TJ Sanders, Ty Hamilton, Harrison Hunt, who I mentioned before, Alexander, who I mentioned before, and CJ West. These are all positions I think are likely to get, well, D-tackle is going to get drafted, and running back, which I'm about to name, is going to get drafted. But it's probably one of these names. Here's the running backs with a 9 or better RAS score. Judkins, Giddens, as I mentioned, Edwards from Michigan, but I think he's more athlete than player. Hampton, who I mentioned, and Tootin, who I mentioned. Now again, let me stress, this is only 2 draft classes to go off of. But these are extremely strong trends. They get the most athletic group of draftees over the last 2 years in the league. And I like these 2 classes. I love this approach. Now, I'm sure some of you are like, yeah, Tomlin can't develop any of them. I don't know. We'll see. I think these last 2 classes have been pretty good. Porter, Benton, Frazier, etc. See on the tackles. And if they can score a late round gem betting on talent and physical skills in the 6th or 7th round, that's a grand slam. So when you look at the Steeler draft, I very, very much urge you to look through this lens when they look at who they're going to be bringing into the team. All right, guys. Thanks. Spread the word.